for the Washington-Texas game, which came after in the Sugar Bowl, it was the exact opposite. It was, I mean, not say it wasn't physical at all. It was. It's football. As my buddy Ryan Flowers says about the safety of the game, you can only make a cigarette, but so healthy. The same can be said about football in terms of its physicality. But Washington, Texas, these are two great offenses. One awesome quarterback I'm going to get to in just a second, and one very good quarterback at Texas, Quinn Ewers. Two excellent head coaches, one and Kalen DeBoer I favor over Steve Sarkisian. Good players defensively, great wide receivers for both sides. And ultimately, albeit by the skin of their teeth, it was Washington who came out with the W 37-31 over the Texas Longhorns. And this, I have been on this for months. Listen, we all know Caleb Williams we all know Caleb Williams is by, I don't want to say by a mile, but by a pretty sizable margin, he's the best quarterback talent in this draft. It's not even close. Joel Klatt on Fox Sports said, I remember when I was watching USC play Colorado, Deion Sanders and all that, and Joel Klatt said he's the only quarterback prospect I've ever evaluated where there literally isn't a hole, and he's great at everything. He's mobile, big, strong arm, accurate, outside the pocket, inside the pocket, can make all the throws, good decision maker. He's got everything you want in the book. So Caleb's going to be the number one pick, whether it's by the Bears, whether somebody trades with Chicago, which I think would be a mistake for the Bears, somebody's going to take him number one. And with the second pick, assuming the team with the second pick doesn't need a quarterback, that's currently Washington. They need a quarterback. You take Michael Penix Jr. That's no disrespect to Drake Maye, who most draft evaluators have as the second best QB. That's not a slight to Jayden Daniels or to Bo Nix or any of these guys. All five are more than competent, more than capable first-round picks, more than deserving. This is your second best quarterback. This is a guy who has been compared to because obviously we know that the left-hand comparisons to Tua, but basically folks have said he's Tua but with a stronger arm. I'll go a step further. I think he is a left-handed Joe Burrow with a better arm, just not quite as accurate. Burrow, the one thing, like the big thing with Joe Burrow is, my Lord, he's accurate. And still is in the NFL. That's translated extremely well, and that translates well regardless of whatever your upside may or may not be. Michael Penix is spectacular. Against Texas, a defense that's had been up and down this season, but by and large has played well when they've had to. 430 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 29 of 38, by the way, completion. So he was excellent in that department, and a QBR of 97.7. So he was absolute money all night long. Now, I'm hearing folks say two things, and actually we discussed this on the 8 o'clock spot last night in the Grid Network when I was hosting, and a topic of discussion in terms of skepticism surrounding Michael Penix Jr. is twofold. Number one is the fact that he has two unbelievable receivers with him. Amazing with the Washington Huskies. Fair, but I could argue the exact same with Joe Burrow. He had this guy, maybe you've heard of him, Jamar Chase. He had this other guy, maybe you've heard of him, Justin Jefferson. Pretty good. Joe Burrow had both of those guys for an LSU team in 2019 that I maintain is the greatest college football team of all time. And the second sort of component that people are concerned about with Michael Penix Jr. isn't terribly mobile. Well, he's mobile enough. He can rush if he absolutely has to. We saw that with C.J. Stroud. No, nobody looked at C.J. Stroud as exactly Lamar Jackson in college. How great was C.J. Stroud with his legs against Georgia? How great was Joe Burrow with his legs again in the college football playoff? I remember even that regular season against Alabama, Joe Burrow was money with his legs. I think about somebody like Trevor Lawrence, who had a 70, 80-yard touchdown run against Ohio State in a playoff game. We don't view Trevor as crazy mobile. We don't view Justin Herbert as, Justin Fields in terms of mobility. If memory serves me correctly, I think he might have led Oregon in rushing against Wisconsin in Oregon's bowl game that year before he declared for the draft. Now, Michael Penix Jr., as rush yards this season, I'm pretty sure I've got this accurate. Michael Penix Jr.'s stats are by no means whatsoever going to blow you away in terms of running the football. He's only got 13 yards running this year, so that's not great. 3 touchdowns though on the season. So mobility isn't going to blow you out of the water. And I've always said, I think in today's NFL, unless you are a deadly accurate passer, I mean, like Joe Burrow good, I don't think you can be immobile. Like Jared Goff has had a great year, has had a pretty darn solid career to this point. He's far from a bust. I don't think he lived up to being the number one pick. The Rams did trade him after all. He's far from a bust. But when the pocket collapses a little bit, he's not near as effective, nor is any quarterback, but especially a guy who can't move. So I understand that concern with Penix, but I've seen him move in and outside the pocket at times. It's not going to reflect in his rushing stats, but he can make all the throws in the book. He's got the strong arm, he's got the accuracy, and he's got the size. I say, why not? We've seen, at least at the college level, and this doesn't always translate, but we have seen at the college level, is the fact the Pac-12 is probably the toughest conference in the sport this year. The now dead Pac-12, at least after Washington plays their national title game on Monday night, faced all the Giants. He beat Oregon twice. He beat USC. He beat Utah. Now, some of that is a great coach in Kalen DeBoer, who is one of the 5 best coaches in college football, has built an unbelievable program with Washington. But if he were to go to the Washington Commanders, who have the 2nd pick in this draft, who knows? Maybe they promote Eric Bieniemy to be their head coach. Offensive mind. We saw him and Mahomes had a pretty good relationship for many, many years in Kansas City. He has weapons like Dotson and McLaurin. Good running game. Michael Penix Jr. ends up with a roster with, at least B- skill position players, worst case scenario, and a decent offensive line. This could be a very effective quarterback, and you can build your roster around him accordingly. But this is by no means, you're like, what about the Mac Jones mobility concerns? Folks, Mac Jones was getting run down. Check the tape. I remember talking about this on my show 3 years ago during the draft. Mac Jones was getting run down by defensive tackles. Not defensive tackles, the big guys. So, this isn't the same situation with Michael Penix Jr. So, I think he's mobile enough to be successful. He's very, very accurate. He's got a monster arm. He can make every throw in the book. He just carved up one of the more impressive defenses in college football, at least among great teams. This kid's really special, man. I love everything. And I think Drake Maye has the potential stylistically to be the next Justin Herbert. I mean, not just the fact he wears number 10, like his mechanics look like Herbert. He can make throws similarly to Herbert. I think Maye is going to be awesome. I'm not trying to throw shade on him or Jayden Daniels, who I'd love if my Steelers took, or Bo Nix. This kid's got it all. Well, what about the age? Burrow was old. How'd that work out? I don't think age is like the worst thing ever. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.